Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways, and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your soul. You are now listening to the Old Paths Podcast, hosted by Brother Reggie Paige.
Peace and blessings, everybody, and welcome back to the Old Paths Podcast, a.k.a. the OP Podcast. And yes, OP is short for overpowered. And it's not because I'm overpowered. It is the Most High that's overpowered. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I am your host, Brother Reggie Paige, again. And this will be episode number 16. And we will be in Booker T. Washington's character building book again to continue from last week. The question I will pose to all of you listeners is, have you done your best? This simple question should stir you into a self-reflecting trance. And I say this because this simple question should make us truly consider if we are striving to do our best in every aspect of our lives, regardless of the circumstances. This goes beyond simply achieving good results. It's about dedication, effort, and personal growth. Striving always to do your best is much sweeter and more important than achieving outward success. See, we live in a society where many have this prideful entitlement to not work hard, yet making a lot of money is so much more important, right? We live in a result-based culture where, depending on the results, that somehow proves how hard one works or how successful one is, just based off of the results. And though that may be true to a certain extent, that is not true in most cases. See, I have encountered and worked with people who earned more money than me and my coworkers at certain jobs that I worked at, and they barely worth a dime. The reason why they may have gotten into that position was usually because of a lot of chicanery, and really it was a lot of brown nosing. I'm not the type of guy that likes to step on people's toes, and I'm really not the type of guy that likes to do some cheek kissing for me to move up through the ranks. And to be honest, it has caused me a lot of opportunities, but I've been blessed with a lot of opportunities because of my work ethic and the stubbornness of staying true to who I am. And in the long term, for my personal self, my personal growth, it has moved me forward on the right path. This causes me to tell y'all this. Effort is largely within your control. You do have some outside factors that influence outcomes, aka, favoritism, legacy, et cetera. However, effort empowers individuals and fosters a sense of agency. When someone focuses on their efforts more than their hopeful outcomes determining how successful they are actually focusing on the journey and the continuous improvement involved in their personal growth. It fosters perseverance, resilience, and learning from your own mistakes. The act of putting in effort builds essential skills like discipline, work ethic, and problem solving, which contributes to personal growth and character development. Focusing on effort promotes a genuine motivation, a genuine drive to do something for its own sake rather than external rewards such as money or promotion, etc. And don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that outcomes are bad or hoping for a certain outcome is bad or setting goals for a certain outcome is bad. But what I am saying is you don't know what the outcome is truly going to be exactly. You have no control over what the outcomes or the results of your life will be. Let me give you an example. For those who watch basketball, the other day I was listening to an interview from Klay Thompson, who is a basketball player who plays for the Golden State Warriors. Now, just some years ago, him and Steph Curry were known as the Splash Brothers. Now, Klay Thompson played a vital role for the Warriors winning those championships in recent years. However, in the year they played against the Toronto Raptors in the finals, I believe like 2019 or 2020, he ended up tearing his ACL. Klay Thompson was a hard worker, and I believe holds the record for making the most three-pointers in one game. And in that championship game, he literally tears his ACL muscle. The next season, he works hard and eventually comes back to play after recovering from his ACL injury. Now, for those who ever played sports and tore a muscle, that process of not only trying to get back into that physical strength, but also the mental confidence to play like how you used to play is a steep climb up a harsh mountain. And Klay Thompson, he actually did it. And then he tore his Achilles. So imagine all that hard work from coming back from an ACL tear to now tearing something else when you finally do come back. See, Klay Thompson, he worked hard, and guess what? This season, he's back playing. However, he's not the same player that he once was, where he once was a savior in some of the games where he got the nickname Playoff Klay. Now he's getting benched. When you see him play, he looks like a shell of himself. And now you have analysts who are campaigning that the Warriors probably should trade him because he's more of a burden to the team than a blessing in their eyes. However, the Golden State Warriors didn't do that, which I'm actually happy for. But this leads me to an interview when they asked Klay Thompson, how do you feel? And his reply was, physically, I'm good, but mentally, I'm not. Then they asked him, what do you think about certain analysts stating the obvious that he is a shell of his former self? And his response was so heartbreaking because he basically states, I used to be able to do all these things for the franchise, and the fact that I cannot do all the things for the franchise breaks my heart. I put my blood, sweat, and tears, and he's trying his absolute best to get back to that point, but he just can't. The injuries are really hindering him. The recovery process, it's a slow process, and he really wants to get back to that form, but he can't. And you can see how badly, just his response. I might have to give you the link to the video in the description, but you can see, like, this man is hurt by it, that he can't do what he once did. And again, just based off his response and also seeing some of his play this season, he's actually doing his best. This is why I say effort needs to be over outcome, because we just don't know how the path is going to end up. It's like planting a flower. All you can do is plant and water and prune from time to time. That's all you can do. It's not in your control on how quickly that flower grows or if that flower ever buds forth, because really it's the Most High that giveth the increase in his season. And knowing that truth, it is always good to always just work hard and put in the best effort in things, because regardless of what field you may be in, what goals that you set for yourself, what jobs that you have, the lifestyle you have for yourselves, it's always going to require for you to strive for the masteries in anything that you do. Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 10 states this, whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there is no work, no device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goest. If you're working a minimum wage job, work that job with thy might. If you're running your own business and the business is not generating enough money, still do it with thy might. If you're a teacher, be the best teacher with thy might. If you're a student of any subject, be the best student with thy might. If you're reading a book for fun, do it with thy might. If you're writing poetry for fun, do it with thy might. If you're being a parent, be the best parent with thy might. If you're a minister or a pastor, be the best pastor or minister with thy might. If you have a wife or a husband, be the best spouse with thy might. If you have friends, how about this? Be the best friend with thy might. Whoever shows you love and whoever loves you or whoever you love them with all of thy might. All those things have one common denominator. That is, you have no idea what the results are truly going to be. But that mindset of always putting forth the best effort or doing whatever that thy hand finds with thy might, it helps you focus on continuous improvement of yourself. Striving for your best is an ongoing process, not a one-time accomplishment. It requires constant learning, self-reflection, and a commitment to pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. And as much as having this mindset of always striving for the masteries and doing your best is good for your own soul, it also has a positive impact on others. Doing your best benefits not only yourselves, but also those around you. It sets a good example, inspires others, and contributes to the improvement of your own community. One thing I have been complimented on throughout my life is that I tend to go all in into things. For the longest at my church, I used to come into church halfway asleep because I used to work 2-3 jobs at the same time, and I didn't slack off at any of those jobs because I used to give my all to those jobs. And the young brothers in my church family saw that. And it helped them not make many excuses because even though they knew I was tired, they still saw me give my all for the ministry. Whether that was preaching Sunday school, cooking for the church, mopping the floors, running the live stream and editing the videos for the church, et cetera, et cetera. And it actually started to motivate them to not make many excuses to be idle. Now, of course, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that they see do this at my church, but they do see me do this because they actually talk about it to me, right? They tell me about this. And currently in my life, I'm not in the rat race anymore. Currently in my life, I am learning and stretching myself thin to build my own small businesses. The reason why is because of my film business, my catering business, a book I wanted to write were going to be a hopeful dream deferred constantly because I did not have the time nor the energy to work 3 other jobs and try to build 2 businesses for myself. I had to make a sacrifice. And the current outcome of me making that decision is less than desirable. See, I went from making buku money and being miserable and stressed and sick to being so broke that brothers use me as the measure of brokenness when they're cracking your mama jokes, right? However, my efforts is still there. I was able to finish a book of poetry and short stories that I was working on, and I'm working on right now, self-publishing. So, stay tuned and look forward to the updates. My film business, on the other hand, is slowly being rebuilt. I used to have a very much thriving independent film business, but then I got saved, right? I was doing my absolute best when I was unsaved, and then when I got saved, I had to take a hiatus and change the model of the business to a business that wants to please God, that is pleasing to God. So concerning my film business, it's slowly being rebuilt to a Christian model that will please God. Concerning my food business, recently I actually had my first private catering gig for a couple's anniversary. I ran the kitchen by myself, and I came up with the menu by myself. I was the host and presented everything by myself. And the night was beautiful for the couple based off of me just doing the best I can with what my hands could hold. And the positive impact of that night was that, from their own words, that was the best date they ever had in their 7 years of marriage. Look, right now I may be broke at the moment of my life, but my hand is on 3 growing businesses that God gave me. And I am still trying to do my best with what's in front of me. And some people do see that, and some people don't. However, constantly making sure I put in my best effort forces me to take personal responsibility for myself. And each individual is always going to be responsible for their own best efforts. No one else can determine or make that effort for you. If I don't put any effort in any of my businesses or anything that I do, that's on me. Let's compare if my businesses are not growing despite my efforts with if my businesses are not growing because of my laziness. So if my business is not growing despite all the effort I'm putting in, then guess what? It is what it is. And it leaves me with the choices of to either quit or be a little bit more patient, or I need to start making adjustments. But if my business is not growing because of me being lazy, then that's my fault. Again, your efforts, especially when you're not blinded with pride, forces you to take ownership of your own actions and your own potential. So the choice is yours. You can either focus on achieving outward success by any means, or no matter what you do it with thy might. Booker T. Washington, in this speech, he used the examples of students excelling in their studies despite personal challenges. Another example that he used was individuals achieving success in unexpected fields through hard work and determination. And then the last example I believe he used was communities thriving due to the collective efforts of individuals who gave their best. So the profound yet simple question I will ask again as you are reflecting in this current stage of life. Whether you're going through a lot of suffering, a lot of hardships, your job is not going well, your marriage may not be going well, or you're on the top of the world. Whatever you do, whatever your hand is on, have you done your best? Without further ado, let's read the speech by Booker T. Washington. Have you done your best? This talk was given at the middle of the school year. If you have not already done so, and I hope you have, I think that you will find this a convenient season for each one of you to stop and to consider your school year very carefully, to consider your life in school from every point of view, to place yourselves, as it were, in the presence of your parents or your friends at home, to place yourselves in the presence of those who stand by and support this institution, to place yourselves in the presence of your teachers, and of all who are in any way interested in you. Now, suppose you were tonight sitting down by your parents' side, by their fireside, looking them in the face, or by the side of your nearest and dearest friends, those who have done the most for you, those who have stood by you most closely. Suppose you were in that position. I want to ask you to answer this question in considering your school life, in your studies, for example, during the year thus far. Have you done your best? Have you been really honest with your parents who have struggled, who have sacrificed, who have toiled for years in ways you don't know of in order that you might come here and in order that you might remain here? Have you really been interested in them? Have you really been honest with your teachers? Have you been honest with those who support this institution? Have you really, in a word, in the preparation and recitation of your lessons, done your level best? Right out from your hearts, have you done your best? I fear that a great many of you, when you look your conscience squarely in the face, when you get right down to your real selves, at the bottoms of your lives, must answer that you have not done your best. There have been precious minutes, there have been precious hours that you have completely thrown away, hours for which you cannot show a single return. Now, if you have not done your level best, write out straight from your heart in the preparation and recitations of your lessons, and in all your work, it is not too late for you to make amends. I should be very sorry if I waited until the end of the term to remind you of this, because it would then be too late. There would be many of you with long faces who would say, if you were reminded then that you could have done so much better, would have been so much more honest with your parents and friends, if you had only been reminded earlier, and that in every way you would have made your lives so different from what they have been. Now, it isn't too late. Grant, as I know that numbers of you will grant, that you have thrown away precious time, that you have been indifferent to the advice of your teachers, that you really haven't been honest with yourselves in the preparation of your lessons, that you have been careless in your recitations. I want you to be really honest with yourself and say, from tonight on, I am going to take charge of myself. I am not going to drift in this respect. I am going to roll up the stream, and my life as a schoolboy or a schoolgirl is going to be different from what it has been. Now, place yourselves again in the presence of your parents, of those who are dearest to you, and answer this question. In your work, in your industrial work here, have you done your real best? In the field and in the shop, with the plow, the trowel, the hammer, the saw, have you done your level best? Have you done your best in the sewing room and in the cooking classes? Have you justified your parents in the sacrifice of time and money which they have made in order to allow you to come here? If you haven't done your best in these respects, and many of you haven't, there is still time for you to become a different man or woman. It isn't too late. You can turn yourselves completely around. Those of you who have been indifferent and slow, those of you who have been thoughtless and slovenly, those of you who have tried to find out how little effort of body or mind you could put into your industrial work here, it isn't too late for you to turn yourselves completely around in that respect and to say that from tonight, you are going to be a different man or woman. Have you done your level best in making your surroundings what the school requires, what your school life should be, and learning how to take care of your bodies, and learning how to keep your bodies clean and pure, and the conscientious, systematic use of the toothbrush? Have you done your best? Have you been downright honest in that respect alone? Have you used the toothbrush just because you felt it was a requirement of the school, or because you felt that you could not be clean or honest with your roommates, that you cannot be yourselves in the sight of God unless you use the toothbrush? Have you used it in the dark as well as in the light? Have you learned that even if your room was not going to be inspected on a certain day, it was just as important that you learned the lessons of being conscientious about keeping it in order as if you knew it was going to be inspected? Have you been careful in this respect? Have you shifted this duty or neglected that duty? Have you thrown some task off on to your roommates? Have you tried to slide out of it, or as it were, to get by, as the slang phrase goes, without going really honest, straightforward work as regard the cleanliness of your room, the improvement of it, the making of it more attractive? Have you been really honest with yourselves and with your parents and with those who spend so much money for the support of this institution? Above all, have you been really true to your parents and to your best selves in growing in strength of character and strength of purpose and being downright honest? Those of you who came here, for instance, with the habit of telling falsehoods, of deceiving in one way or another, those of you who came here with the temptations, perhaps, in too many cases, overshadowing you and overpowering you to take property which does not belong to you. Have you been really honest in overcoming habits of this kind? Are you building character? Are you less willing to yield to temptation? Are you more able to overcome temptations now that you were? If you're not more able, you have not grown in this respect. But it is not too late. If there are some of you who have been unfortunate enough to allow little mean habits, mean dispositions, mean acts, mean thoughts, mean words to get the uppermost of you, in the words, if your life thus far has been a little dried up, narrow life, get rid of that life. Throw open your heart. Say now, I am not going to be conquered by little mean thoughts, words, and acts any longer. Hereafter, all my thoughts, all of my words, all of my acts shall be large, generous, high, pure. In other words, I want you to get hold of this idea that you can make the future of your lives just what you want to make it. You can make it bright, happy, useful if you learn this fundamental lesson and stick to it while in school or after you go away from here, that it doesn't pay any individual to do any less than his very best. It doesn't pay to be anything else but downright honest in heart. Any person who is not honest, who is not trying to do his very best in the classroom or in the shop, no matter where he may be, will find out that it does not pay in the long run. You may think it is best for a little while, but permanently it does not pay any man or woman to be anything but really downright honest and to do his or her level best. Now, I want you to think about these things, not only here in the chapel tonight, but tomorrow in your classrooms, and with reference to everything you touch. I want to see you let it shine out, even at the very ends of your fingers, that you are doing your best in everything. Do this, and you will find at the end of the school year that you are growing stronger, purer, and brighter, that you are making your parents and those interested in you happier, and that you are preparing yourselves to do what this institution and the country expects you to do. And that's just a low-down gospel truth. I hope that was very convicting. It was very convicting to me. I'll be back next week with more Booker T. Washington. I need to go pray and repent. But hey, thank you for watching. Next week, we'll continue with the next chapter of character building, God willing. But if you enjoyed this episode, please do like, comment, and subscribe, and share the knowledge with your folks and kinfolks. And please throw in the love offering. I have the Cash App in the description down below. And remember, have you done your best? And also remember this too. The truth shall make you free. May the God of all knowledge have mercy and grace upon you all. Peace.